Hello, I'm Rico Cavella. Welcome to this episode of Fearless Aging, where in every episode, my guests and I, we strive to offer you proven tips and strategies that you can implement immediately to greatly improve your overall health and well-being. So we're here to inspire you and empower you to become your best self so you can go out and make a bigger positive impact in the world. So the title of today's episode is it's something we haven't covered before, so I'm really excited about this episode. It's Can Psychedelic Plant Medicine Save the World? That's a pretty strong title, so it's going to be really interesting. And our expert guest today, his name is Chris Steely. He is the founder of a management consulting and facilitation practice dedicated to helping service-oriented business leaders achieve championship level performance. He is like a he's like a strategic coach for elite athletes, focused on business leaders optimizing their mindset, operations, and execution for peak success. His background spans corporate leadership, management consultant, military service, elite athletics, and professional facilitation. So, Chris Steely, welcome so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Rico, love your style, brother. It's so good. It's an honor to be here, sir. It really is.
It's so much fun. Yeah, this is going to be really a fun one. And so, before we talk about your experience with plant medicine and microdosing and all these things, I think it's important to let our audience know that how plant medicine can actually potentially save the world from all the trauma and mental illness that we have caused ourselves, right? For not understanding that we're just all one people here on this planet and we could be living in peace instead of fighting wars and killing each other, right?
Right.
And it's also really important for finding natural cause cures and for our ailments. Everything we need to survive and thrive is given to us on planet Earth.
Truly.
Absolutely right. And so I think it'd be important, Chris, before we get into it, is to give some definitions here because this was important for me. I looked up these up before the show so people understand what we're really talking about. So plant medicines are really it's where our pharmaceutical companies original came. Our pharmaceuticals really original came from. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
And indigenous people have been learning and using plant medicine since almost the beginning of time, right?
Truly. Truly. I
That's
mean,
right.
Mother Nature, Mother Earth. She takes care of us, and the plants are medicines. They are healing mechanisms, and we've
Absolutely.
lost touch with that in our society, our fast-moving society. We're actually there's a renaissance that's occurring where people are finally coming back and realizing the value of these sacred plants. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then psychedelic drugs. Most people just think about the psychedelic culture of the 1960s. Uh, But really, psychedelic drugs just mean that there's something that can expand your mind to become a sense of more of your own self awareness, right?
Yeah, it's consciousness expanding, right?
Consciousness
And
expanding. Yeah.
and it's funny the word drugs is used. It's got a stigma, so I prefer to steer
Yeah,
away from the context of drugs and call it medicine, plant medicine. It's a much better vernacular in context. So
absolutely. And then people we hear about hallucinations, and I think most people have a hallucination. Well, that's not good. It's just not something that's not real. But actually, I looked up hallucination is actually an experience involving the apparent perception of something that's not present. But that means it's not present in our three-dimensional reality. But we now know from quantum physics, that we live in a multi-dimensional universe. So there's many multi dimensions that we're not quite aware of in our three-dimensional state that we mostly
right,
live
and
in.
and and this these entheogens, which are medicines, they allow us to see the unseeable. And frankly, it's impossible to describe a psychedelic experience in words. It's just impossible because
Mhm.
it's so beyond anything you could possibly imagine.
Right, absolutely. And one more thing before we get into it here is I found this. It said, John Hopkins has a Center for Psychedelic and Conscious Research, and their vision is to advance the scientific understanding of psychedelics and their potential for treating mental health disorders, enhancing well-being, and expanding our understanding of consciousness.
Truly.
Uh, That's so good, isn't
I
it?
love that Johns Hopkins leading the charge, leading the way. I mean, viability, credibility. So it's so good to get those endorsements in the context of these healing plant medicines. So yeah.
Absolutely. So my first question then, how did you get involved with psychedelic plant medicines?
Well, I tell you, I know you, Rico. We go way back. We're friends. I love your style and everything. And again, I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I'm a certified professional facilitator, and I'm well practiced with more than 23 ayahuasca ceremonies. And
Mhm.
I've got extensive experience with psilocybin, 5-MeO-DMT, LSD, MDMA, and ketamine. And I bring a grounded respect to the medicine path. So again, I'm certified professional facilitator, been transforming businesses in the context of strategy for about 25 years. And it's a global practice where I'm unlocking people's full potential, right? Uh, I got a foundation built on high performance coaching as well, leadership development, and trauma informed facilitation based on my experience with the medicines that I've induced. So I now focus on helping people integrate these profound experiences from sacred psychedelic medicines into their personal and professional lives. And really, what it comes down to answer your question directly, Rico, my father passed of Alzheimer's about 15 years ago, and it was a long,
Mhm.
slow decline, and he lost his
Mhm.
mental health. So
Mhm.
after that, I made it a kind of a crusade to optimize my mental fitness, and I realized that psychedelics keep that neuroplasticity strong. It actually allows for us to be able to not just tap into the unknown, but keep our brains healthy. So that's how I got into it. And again, I'm a performance oriented guy, and I do what it takes. And psychedelics have allowed me to again see the unseeable and become conscious in ways that I really couldn't imagine. So
Well, before we talk about how you implement that into your business training, what do you think the biggest benefits are going to be from the ongoing research that's coming out and ongoing people like yourself who are actually implementing?
well, yeah, with John Hopkins, I mean, they're one institution, and there's lots of viable organizations that are actually doing the research. Lots of professionals, wise practitioners, psychologists, doctors that are actually unpacking and understanding the dynamics of the difference that these medicines, again, their medicines make when used with sacred medicinal respect. A lot of people say, again, it's a drug. It's used to escape. And we all are humans, right? We all have human nature, Rico. And
Uh-huh.
some of the time we just want to escape. And oftentimes these drugs can be abused. But I believe that because organizations like John Hopkins and other viable institutions are now focusing on the value of these sacred medicinal plants that actually heal. They heal trauma. They allow people to see things they really couldn't see. My experience with ayahuasca is, again, I've sat with grandmother ayahuasca, we call her, 23 times. And they say that a 4-hour session with ayahuasca is like 10 years of custom tailored psychotherapy.
Yeah,
And
I've heard
it's true.
that. I've
It
heard that.
really is true. I've learned so much about myself in ways that frankly can't be explained, but it's deep levels of actualization and consciousness. And people are getting it. The leaders, the experts, they're getting it. So.
Well, I hope some of our government people could begin to get.
Well, it's funny. Well, one of the things we talk about, because one of the things I do is I do integration work, and
Mhm.
everybody agrees when we integrate after a medicine session, we should put ayahuasca in the water on Capitol Hill. It's kind of a joke because you're not going to do that,
Right.
but people would actually know that we are one and that love is what it's all about. It's not a hippie thing; it's a truth, and it's impossible to understand that until you've experienced these modalities. And I just love working with people that have, so that they can actually integrate it into their lives and take their life to whatever level they want to take it going forward for the rest of that life. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it has so many applications, not only just for personal advanced awareness and mental illness and future in business as well. But I mean, how do you think it's going to how do you think it's going to unfold? How can this become more practical for where more people can get involved and experience it?
Well, I think again we are governed, right? We live in a society where there's things that are legal and they're not legal, and we live in a rule of the society of law and all that stuff. And the government has made many of these medicines illegal in the context of the Schedule One,
Right.
um, because frankly, I don't know how else to say this, Rico, but when you become enlightened in the context of who you really are and what your purpose is in the planet,
Hmm.
the government can no longer control you
Exactly.
because you actually become actualized. And the government can't control enlightened people for what it's worth. So the dynamic of the hegemony that's keeping these substances away from the general population. Yeah, again, it's not necessarily a bad thing because people, again, as human beings, we have a tendency to abuse things we don't understand. Oftentimes, we don't understand things, so we vilify them and we learn to fear them, right? So I think what's happening is that Johns Hopkins, organizations like Johns Hopkins and other experts, there's so many mechanisms and books to read, and I know you and I have been sharing this over the past couple of weeks, where the reality of these substances are becoming understood, and smart, enlightened people are actually sharing the benefits as opposed to succumbing to the oppression and the hegemony that the government wants to inflict upon us. And again, I'm not a revolutionary in context, but maybe I am to some extent, right?
Yeah, I think
You
there
know,
are to some
I
extent.
think so. I think so
Yeah,
because I think we all need to understand ourselves. And
yeah,
that's our
absolutely.
responsibility. Again, I'm a purpose driven guy. I know my purpose. And a lot of that actualization is stemmed from my use of psychedelic medicines. So,
Yeah, well, really well said. I really like the YouTube video of Tony Robbins and Mike Tyson video.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was they made that up. I don't know, shucks, about 8 years ago. You could actually go to YouTube and type in uh, uh, Tony Robbins, Mike Tyson, and the toad.
Yeah,
It's the Sonoran desert toad exudes a toxin basically that they've synthesized, and it's a molecule called 5-MeO-DMT. And you can induce it, and I've done this in many sacred shaman-led ritualistic environments, and you die in the medicine. Basically, you die. You don't literally die, but you transform, you transition away. And again, you can't describe it in words. Tony Robbins does a really good way. Again, it's on YouTube. You can check it out. It's like 30 minutes long. But he and Mike Tyson go back and forth about their experience with the toad. And again, it is one mechanism. There's so many different medicines, but
yeah,
it cures trauma. It confronts people with the reality of what they didn't know that they didn't know about themselves, right? And I believe that that's our most sacred responsibility as humans, is to delve into the intricacies and the nuances. And people like Tony Robbins and Mike Tyson and
yeah,
celebrities and business leaders. I mean, look at some of the most prolific business leaders through history. Many of them are actualized in psychedelic medicines. And I believe that's why they are who they are. And that's how they became who they are. And I think the business is experiencing a renaissance in that context as well. So, yeah.
yeah. I like how enthusiastic Tony Robbins was for using it for to help trauma like p- what's it PTSD.
Yeah,
P-
post-traumatic stress disorder. A lot of
Yeah,
people attribute that to the military. Again, I'm a Marine,
yeah,
so I've been surrounded by post-traumatic stress disorders. I mean, when you're in a war dynamic, the chaos and the darkness is so profound that you get traumatized. You can also get traumatized in a car accident. People get traumatized when, as a child, when their mother turns around in the shopping in the grocery store, and all of a sudden they're abandoned. That's legitimate trauma, and we all
yeah,
have it.
yeah,
Gabor Mate is another sage leader, and he talks about the wisdom of trauma and how we can learn. And we've all been traumatized to some extent, and these modalities, these medicines, help us come to terms with the trauma we've all been subjected to and how we can actually process it and live a more full, integrated, conscious life.
yeah. So well said, Chris. Okay, I have a short 60-second message for our audience, and we'll be right back with Chris Steely talking more about plant medicines.
Do you wake up feeling exhausted, stiff, and sore? Do you feel like no matter how hard you try, those extra pounds won't budge, and the energy and vitality you once had are slipping further away? If this sounds like you, don't give up. Feeling tired and immobile isn't your destiny. It's not too late to take back your energy, your youthful shape, and feel great in your body again. Meet Rico Caveglia, America's healthy aging trainer, creator of the Aging Living Lifestyle and the Vitality for Life Wellness Program. At age 83, Rico has the moves and vitality of someone half his age and has a fitness age of just 35. For over 40 years, Rico has helped hundreds of people just like you regain their energy and vitality. That's agelesslivinglifestyle.com/coaching to learn more and book your free call with Rico to see if you or your parents are a good fit for this transformational program.
All right, we are back with Chris Steely talking about plant medicine. So, Chris, talk a little bit about. I know you have you developed your own methodology called the Grounded Awakening Integration Framework. Let's talk about that and how you integrate that into your business coaching.
Well, I'm glad you asked, Rico. The key is that a lot of people, again, the stigma, the drugs and everything, it's not about that. It's about the experience through sacred, shaman led, guided, facilitated processes where people induce the medicine. And then from there, it becomes integrated into their lives so that they can actually learn from the experiences. So I offer one on one psychedelic integration coaching. I do group integration circles virtually as well as in person. I actually have got retreats in preparation for psychedelic experiences, as well as re-entry facilitation when people come back out of the experiences. I believe that's the most important part is the context of
Yeah.
integration. Too many people overlook that. They don't do that, right? I do executive psychedelic integration strategy and how to apply it toward a business dynamic. And then, of course, trauma-informed leadership support as well. I can do that. So my methodology, it's a pretty straightforward process that, it works. It aligns our intentions, clarifies the motivation as we prepare for the experience of what is about to happen, right? With sacred medicinal respect. The experts, we all talk about how it's about setting, mindset, and the setting that you're in, and creating an environment that is sacred and respectful pre-ceremony. And then we do experience processing afterwards, creating space for storytelling, emotional unpacking, and narrative formation in the context of this, again, this psychotherapy, this deep custom tailored psychotherapy that people get to experience. And then we extract the wisdom from the experience, identifying core insights, lessons, and symbolic meanings that are unique to us, right? And then, of course, it's all about getting results. And we talk about action, integration into action, developing strategies to apply the realizations in relationships, in work, as well as personal growth as well. And then, of course, sustained transformation, actually transforming your life in the reality of the medicinal healing that you've done. And I offer ongoing support to anchor elevated states into new ways of being. So that's what I do.
Wow. How often do you actually facilitate uh, one of these retreats?
Well, it's funny. You and I are members of a men's group, and we have a regular coordinated integration circle every month. We've been doing it regularly for 5 years. Um, but I do it on call, on demand, based on people that come to me and they know the work that I do. And yeah, so I'll probably do maybe a monthly retreat. I'm actually at an event right now here in Southern California, facilitating some people, and then in a couple of weeks I'm going to be out in a meditation conference up in North Carolina in mid-August. So I'm always serving as a facilitator, as a guest at these initiatives, but it's a regular thing, and it's pretty much on call. I like to work with people who frankly understand the value of this type of work.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll have to explore that. Yeah, I'd definitely like to come to one of your retreats. So we'll have to find out how we can do that. We'll talk a little bit more about uh, for people say who are still kind of a little hesitant and a little bit fearful of this. And what do you tell people that who don't really? I mean, they have an interest in it, but they're not really sure if it's safe or what could happen to them, or are there any dangers what could happen?
Well, that's the thing. I think if you go at it with an irresponsible mindset, right, and if you don't have that set in that setting in advance, it could be a bad experience. And
Mhm.
whether you're a seeker, a professional, a veteran, or a leader on the path of awakening, I'm here to help make sense of the medicine and move forward with purpose in the context of a ceremony that's going to work, as well as integrating the lessons and the learnings from that experience. So I provide structure to the mystery, helping people translate insight into embodied wisdom
Mhm.
before the session as well as afterwards as well. So
Wow, that's so well said. Well, talk a little bit, since you are a business consultant, uh, talk a little bit about some people that, not individual, but people that you work with in business and how it can help, how it's helped their business.
I've been doing this now for a couple decades. I've got the chops again, been around the block. I Marine Corps logistics officer for a total of 24 years, most of it in the reserves. Silicon Valley IT executive, owned a management consulting practice, and I've worked with clients, including Tony Robbins. I toured with Tony for 4 years. He hired me to help optimize the way he developed his business. And but I work with companies. I work with the likes of McKinsey and Company to do transformational work in context. And a lot of people will come to me because they understand the value of these medicinal healing processes. So companies that are led by leaders who are looking to understand again what they don't know that they don't know. Isn't that what innovation is, right?
Hmm.
If we knew how to innovate, we already would have innovated. So the nice thing about psychedelics is they help unpack that mechanism of innovation, allowing people to understand the real value of taking the risks that they must take in business with courage and respect and deliberation and diligence, and that's what I'm all about. So I love the work and it's making a difference. And again, we're here to make the world a better place, Rico. You're in the same game I'm in. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I can see. I think when you increase your own awareness, your own consciousness, not only, like say, it'll help you in every aspect of your life, but I can see that in business, because when you really have the confidence that you're really on the right path and you're leading people in the right direction, and so I think that can make a big difference.
Well, as you say, confidence, right? I know what it's like to run a business, right? I've been the CEO of a management consulting practice, managing director, managing the business development, the operations, and it can be scary. It can be daunting. There's a
Hmm.
big competitive marketplace out there. But if we tap into the essence of what we're really here to do and realize that business is a mechanism of value exchange, how do we most effectively exchange that value in ways that maybe we hadn't thought possible? Right. So it's inspiring those possibilities. Matter of fact, I was featured in a book about 15 years ago called GPS for Success, along with some other experts, Stephen Covey, John Gray, Les Brown. I was one of the featured experts, and my chapter in the book was called "Inspiring Your Possibilities," because that's what it comes down to: is what is
Hmm.
possible, and by stepping into these spaces of unknown with sacred setting and medicinal respect, it makes all the difference. Whether you're a parent, running a household, or a strategic business leader doing their best to actually manage their team and compel their team to perform at levels they get to perform at, right? with without abuse, without inappropriate use, but sacred respect for these medicines. So again, it's good to see the people that actually apply this. They're
Hmm.
the difference makers. As Steve Jobs used to say, they're the crazy ones, right?
It's true.
The crazy ones are the ones that change the world. They're the ones that innovate. They're the ones that save the planet. So maybe it's not about doing things the way we've always done them. Maybe
Yeah.
it's about doing it differently. So
Absolutely. So we'll put that, how they can get that free chapter that you wrote. We'll put that in the show description, and also we'll also put your website where people can contact you if they're interested in your business coaching, or your plant medicine retreats, all that stuff. So we'll definitely let people know about that. So we just got about a couple of minutes left to go here. I know talk a little bit about microdosing and how you're doing that, and how it's affected you.
yeah, so there's a dynamic of like a journey, like a macro dose, right? And that's where you go kind of on an experience. You transition, you transcend, you transform. Microdosing of specifically psilocybin, which is the mushroom. It's the chemical found in the magic mushroom. Allows we call it a vitamin for the mind. It allows you to be able to stay in a grounded space of again, there's no high involved, but it helps the brain health through fostering neuroplasticity as well. So psilocybin is something that can be microdosed, again, done with sacred, responsible respect as well. So I believe that, again, psychedelics and microdoses done with the right intention are vitamins for the mind. They're vitamins for the soul. So yeah.
So what have you experienced with your microdosing?
So I'm all about I use nootropics. If you know what nootropics are, they're optimizing your mind. There's biohackers out there that are biohacking and everything. I'm a biohacker, if you want to call me that. I use different mechanisms of chemical technology to be able to optimize my brain health. Again, remember, I was inspired when my father passed away, so I've done the
Right.
research. So whether it be a psilocybin microdose, which I do regularly, I'll wake up in the morning and with my morning coffee, I've got a couple mycologists that I work for that actually put together formulas that are
Okay.
synthesizing psilocybin into microdoses. And I'll just take it with
Chris.
my coffee. There's really no effect, but it
Hey,
makes all
Chris,
the
I'm
difference.
sorry, we're just about out of time.
Okay, that's cool.
That
No
was
worries.
so great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That was some great information. And so I like to always end all my shows with Einstein saying, knowledge without action is useless. So we always give you some great information and some great knowledge, but you got to step up and take action on it. So I highly recommend you contact Chris, and it's going to be really highly beneficial for you. So if you like today's episode, tell your friends about the Fearless Aging TV show.
Blessings, Rico.